She smiled at you and said, "You look good today." And like a dog finally getting a bone, you smiled back and said, "Thanks." It seemed polite. It seemed normal. It seemed right. But something shifted. Her smile faded just a bit. Not enough for your brain to catch it, but enough for her instincts to record it. She gave you power. You accepted it, and the game ended. If there's one thing I've learned about female psychology, it's this: a woman never respects the man who rushes to receive her validation. Because the second you show you need it, she no longer wants to give it. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to reject a woman's compliment in a way that flips a switch deep in her body where she can't help but respect you. Let's begin with the part they never told you. Most compliments from a woman are not pure praise. They're a probe, a test, a flick at the edges of your identity. She doesn't say you're handsome because she believes it. She says it because she wants to know if you believe it. And if you do, if you light up like a puppy getting patted on the head, she files it away. He needs me to approve him. What happens next? The feminine begins to recoil, not dramatically, not consciously, but quietly, below the surface. She no longer sees a man who walks with fire in his chest. She sees a boy who needs her applause to feel real. And women don't follow boys. Here's what should have happened instead. She says, "You look good today." You look her in the eye, smirk slightly, and say, "That's your opinion." Then silence. You hold eye contact. You don't fill the space. You don't soften it. You let the tension grow like a vine wrapping around her ribs. Because tension is not your enemy. Tension is where the masculine becomes magnetic. Most men are addicted to approval. You think you're being nice, but nice is code for needy. You think you're being grateful, but grateful is code for lower value. When you accept her compliment eagerly, you teach her something dangerous: that her words have the power to shape your self-perception. You hand over the keys to your frame, and once you do that, she will test you harder. She has to. Because now she's driving the dynamic. And instinctively, she wants to know, can you hold your center even when I shake it? Most guys fail. They wobble, they adjust themselves to win back favor. They text more, they call more. They say, "Was it something I said?" That's not attraction. That's repulsion. But when you reject her compliment, not rudely, not spitefully, but with calm indifference, you plant something primal in her gut. She doesn't understand why, but she starts looking at you differently. She starts wondering, what does he see that I don't? And more dangerously, why doesn't he need me to see it? This is the gateway to uncontrollable respect. Respect that doesn't need to be asked for. Respect that doesn't need to be verbalized. Respect that enters the room with you. And here's the twist. The men who can reject compliments are not arrogant. They're anchored. They don't push back because they're angry at women. They push back because they don't need anything from them. That's rare. That's unnerving. That's attractive. You ever wonder why the guy who teases a woman and stays emotionally detached gets her full attention? It's not because of negging. That's surface-level bullshit. It's because his center is unmoved. He doesn't lean in. He doesn't flinch. He doesn't respond to praise like a starving child. And she feels it. She senses a man who already believes in his own worth. And so, paradoxically, she wants to earn it. You flip the roles. Now she's performing for you. Now she's waiting for your validation. This isn't manipulation. It's restoration. You're correcting a dynamic that got hijacked the moment you handed over your self-esteem for a few crumbs of feminine approval. You don't get strong by chasing kindness. You get strong by anchoring yourself so deep in who you are that no compliment, no flirtation, no pretty smile can alter your direction. The next time she compliments you, whether it's your looks, your voice, your intelligence, don't smile like a fool and say thanks. Pause. Let the words float between you, and then deliver one of 3 lines. That's one way to see it. You've got good taste. You just noticed. Each one says, "I heard you, but I don't need you." And that's the line that separates men who chase women from men who attract them. Because the man who doesn't need her compliment is the man who earns her obsession. You've been conditioned since you were a boy to treat praise as a prize. Teachers praised you for behaving. Parents praised you for doing what you were told. Women praised you when you acted safe. And now you're a man, but the boy is still steering, still hoping to be seen, still craving gold stars, still looking for a woman to tell him he's enough. But here's the truth most men never face when a woman praises you and you light up. You betray your hunger. And women smell hunger like wolves smell fear. She doesn't want a man who glows when she claps. She wants a man who's already glowing and doesn't flinch when she notices. It's not just about rejecting compliments. It's about what that rejection reveals. The man who can say, "I don't need that," is the man who's already full. And fullness is magnetic. Women are drawn to fullness the way fire needs oxygen, but they will always test it. They'll poke at it, they'll flatter you, then mock you, they'll build you up, then go cold. And they're not doing it to be cruel. They're doing it because they're searching. They're searching for something real, something anchored, something that won't collapse the moment they pull on it. When you say thanks too quickly, you collapse. When you gush with gratitude, you collapse. When you take her compliment as confirmation of your worth, you're done. Because the truth is brutal. If a woman can move you too easily, she will lose respect for you. You can feel it. Think back. Every time you chased her approval and she went cold, every time you tried harder and she pulled further away, every time you gave more, softened more, yielded more, and she gave you less. That was the slow death of masculine presence. She doesn't want more affection. She wants more spine. Not dominance, not loud ego. Just spine. The quiet, unshakable kind that doesn't blink when challenged. You're not here to pass her tests. You're here to render them irrelevant. And that starts when you stop needing the bait. Stop biting when she flatters you. Stop leaning forward when she's watching. Instead, just stand. Let her words fall off your shoulders like rain. Let her compliments hit a surface that's already sealed. Because the moment she realizes her validation can't move you, she begins to feel something unfamiliar. Respect. Not the polite kind. Not the "you're such a nice guy" kind. I'm talking about the deep biological respect that says, this man doesn't need me. And that's exactly why I want him. It's the same respect a soldier gets when he walks into a room. The same respect a man earns when he refuses to flinch, even when he's alone. But here's where most men screw it up. They try to fake this. They memorize lines. They watch alpha male clips. They rehearse cocky comebacks, and it fails. And because it's not in the words, it's in the energy. You can't fake groundedness. You can't pretend to be full when you're empty. You can't act like you don't care when your eyes are still pleading for approval. So, what do? You start by training your nervous system, not with women, with yourself. When you look in the mirror, stop looking for flaws or victories. Look for neutrality, the ability to see yourself without judgment, to be with yourself without reaching for reassurance. Because if you can't give that to yourself, every compliment will be a drug. And every drug wears off. Rejecting a compliment isn't about being rude. It's about being rooted. It's a signal, a broadcast. It says you're not my source. I'm already plugged in. And that right there is where the power flips. Because now you're not a man orbiting around her attention. You're a force field. And if she wants to be close to it, she has to respect it. This is why the man who seems just out of reach, who never leans in, never tries to impress, never accepts praise like a thirsty boy, he gets the real desire. She doesn't fantasize about the guy who smiles wide when she says he looks good. She fantasizes about the man who looks back at her and says nothing. Because silence is heavy. And weight makes her feel she can't pin him down, can't label him, can't predict him. That's the magic, the masculine mystique. It's not about being mysterious. It's about being unshaken. So the next time she says you're sexy, don't nod like a fool. Look at her. Say, I know. And then walk away. That one moment, if you do it right, will stick in her mind for days. Not because of what you said, but because of what you didn't need. And every time she thinks of it, she'll feel it again. That ripple, that confusion, that attraction, that respect she can't explain. You're not here to be liked. You're not here to be approved of. You're here to be felt, to move differently, to walk into a room and change the temperature. But that doesn't happen when you're craving her softness. It happens when you embody weight. You've probably been told your whole life, be kind, be open, say thank you. And while those things sound noble, they become a prison when they're done to win love. A compliment is not a gift. It's a trigger, a test. She wants to see what you'll do when she hands you the crown. Will you kneel and beg for more? Or will you place it back on her head and say, you'll have to do better than that? She doesn't want the man who swells with pride after a few sweet words. She wants the man who nods once and moves on because he's heard it before, from himself. The truth is, most men are running low on internal praise. You don't speak to yourself like a king. You wait for women to do it. You sit on the bench of your own life and hope the feminine notices you. She might. But the second she sees that you live for her notice, she'll withdraw it. It's not cruelty. It's calibration. Because women aren't attracted to the man who wants to be noticed. They're drawn to the man who is already chosen. By himself, without ceremony, without fanfare, you want to pass her test. Here's the real answer. Don't even take it. When she says, "Wow, you're looking sharp today," you don't need to roll your eyes or act like an ass. You just smile lightly and change the subject. No emotional spike, no reaction. Why? Because power is quiet. The man who needs to show he has it doesn't. The man who accepts every compliment with enthusiasm has already lost the game. Think about the men women obsess over. It's never the one who responds too fast, laughs too loud, agrees too easily. It's the one who's slightly out of reach. Not because he's playing games, but because he's too rooted to chase butterflies. That's what rejecting her compliment says. It says, "I'm not the type to chase you." And underneath every woman's desire is a question, will I have to chase him? When the answer is yes, her respect erupts. Because now she's in the unfamiliar territory of earning something. And what's earned is always valued more than what's freely given. Here's what happens when you stop leaning in for praise. She starts leaning in with presence. She talks slower. She holds eye contact longer. She starts asking you for validation. You flip the poles. You became the gravitational center. But let me be clear, this only works if you're solid. If you're faking detachment, she'll sniff it out. If you say, "I don't care," but your eyes plead, "Please like me," you're done. Rejecting compliments only works when you've already rejected your own neediness. That's the hard part. That's the part no one teaches you, because men think confidence is about adding more muscle, more money, more praise. But real masculine confidence is about removing the need for praise, removing the reflex to prove, removing the hunger for applause. You don't need to become more, you need to become less dependent. And that starts the moment you stop needing her to see you. You already see you. And that's the only vision that matters. So you sit there, she compliments your style. You nod once, no big smile, no thank you, no flattery in return. She's thrown a spark. You don't catch it. You just let it float. And in that silence, something starts to twist in her. She starts to wonder, why didn't he light up? Why is he so calm? What does he see in himself that makes my praise irrelevant? That's where the chase begins. Because once she feels that imbalance where she's giving and you're unmoved, a primitive part of her wakes up. She doesn't want to be the queen. She wants to earn the king. And if you can hold that frame, if you can resist the urge to soften every time she sprinkles affection, you'll notice something strange. She starts admiring you, respecting you, craving you, not for what you say, but for what you don't. A man who rejects her compliment isn't rude. He's rare. And rarity breeds obsession. So the next time she throws you a line, don't grab it. Let it fall. Let her wonder. Let her come closer. Because the man who can walk away from validation is the one who never has to chase it. Most men never make it this far. They fold before the game even starts. They think that by soaking in praise, they're building connection. But all they're doing is exposing how hollow they are inside. You want to know what makes a woman's heart pound in her chest? What makes her daydream about you in silence while she's lying next to another man? It's not your charm, not your looks, not your money. It's the absence of need. The void she can't fill. The man who walks away from her approval like it's beneath his notice. Because when you reject her compliment, you're not just rejecting words. You're rejecting dependency. You're telling the universe, I validate myself. That's rare, that's dangerous. And that's why she respects you. Not because you were mean, not because you acted superior, but because you didn't flinch. And in a world full of men who flinch, the one who doesn't becomes unforgettable. But here's where it cuts deeper. A woman's attraction isn't just to your strength. It's to your silence after the compliment. That brutal pause, that lack of reaction, that stillness that echoes I've heard better, it sends her spinning because it challenges her value. And you better believe that when you challenge her value without disrespecting her, you unlock something deeper than desire. You unlock submission. Not the fake kind, not the Instagram version, the real kind. The kind where she brings herself closer, not because she has to, but because she can't stop herself. You flipped the whole damn script. You're no longer the man hoping to be liked. You're the man who doesn't care. And because of that, everyone wants to be the one exception. She becomes obsessed with being the one who breaks through to you. The one whose words finally made you react. The one who melted the wall. But she never will. And that's why she stays. Because you represent what almost no man becomes untouched. Untouched by approval, untouched by praise, untouched by the chaos of her testing. You don't argue. You don't reject out loud. You just receive her compliment like a king receives a petition without flattery, without need, without shifting your position. You're so different from other guys. She says it with awe. But what she really means is, you didn't crumble when I gave you power. You made me earn mine. It's not a technique. It's a frequency. You either radiate it or you chase it. And if you're still chasing, if you're still hoping a compliment will fix your self-worth, then you're not dangerous. You're digestible, comfortable, forgettable. But when you're past that, when her validation is just noise in the background of your mission, you become the man she dreams about. Not because of what you say, but because of what you don't need. Every time you reject her compliment, you remind her that she's not the center. You are. You become the sun. She revolves around you. And the moment she feels that gravitational shift, she submits, not with words, with energy, with longing, with obsession. She'll compliment you more. She'll lean closer. She'll playfully try to get a rise out of you just to feel you react. And you won't give it. Not because you're cold, but because you're centered. That's what drives her crazy. That's what makes her respect you in a way that borders on worship. And you didn't raise your voice once. You didn't chase. You didn't even say thank you. You just stayed solid. Stayed still. Stayed you. So the next time you hear the words, "You look really handsome today," you don't light up. You don't say thanks. You just let it pass. Like the wind. Like it meant nothing. Because you already knew. And now, she knows you knew. You don't earn her respect by being agreeable. You earn it by being immovable. By being unaffected. You don't get the crown by accepting her praise. You get the crown by never needing it in the first place. And the moment she realizes she's not your source, you become the one she respects, craves, and can't forget. You don't win her heart by being sweet. You win her soul by walking away from anything that tries to shape your worth. So don't just reject her compliments. Reject your hunger for them. And watch what happens when she meets a man who finally doesn't need to be told he's a king.